Picture this if you can, a Missouri farmer going about his daily routine, tending to his crops under the warm sun. Little did he know that beneath the soil he had worked for years, a piece of history lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. One day as he worked his field, his equipment suddenly and unexpectedly struck something completely unpredictable. Curiosity piqued, he began to dig, unearthing a shocking discovery that would captivate the nation. What he found was no ordinary object, but a remnant of a bygone era. A ghost of sorts to the untold stories that lie beneath our feet. This farmer's incredible find would not only shed light on a fascinating chapter of American history, but also spark the imagination of people far and wide. Join us as we unravel the mystery of this remarkable discovery and embark on a journey through time, back to an age when steamboats ruled the rivers, and the American frontier was a land of opportunity and adventure. Get ready to be amazed by the story of one farmer's unexpected encounter with the past and the incredible legacy he helped bring to light. The Steamboat Arabia. In 1853, the Arabia was built in Brownsville, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, as a side-wheel steamboat. Its massive 28-foot paddle wheels were powered by steam boilers that consumed around 30 cords of wood per day. Averaging about 5 miles per hour upstream, the Arabia initially traveled the Ohio and Mississippi rivers before being purchased by Captain John Shaw to operate on the Missouri River. In March 1856, the Arabia was sold once again to Captain William Terrell and William Boyd. During their ownership, it made 14 trips up and down the Missouri. However, the steamboat faced several challenges. In one incident, it collided with an obstacle, nearly sinking with a damaged rudder that required repairs. Just weeks later, a cylinder head blew, necessitating more repairs. The Arabia also found itself entangled in the tensions over slavery during this period. In March 1856, pro-slavery border ruffians stopped and searched the steamboat near Lexington, Missouri. They discovered a letter describing rifles and cannons destined for the slavery-free Kansas territory sent by Northern abolitionists. The weapons, hidden in boxes labeled as carpenter's tools, were confiscated from the Arabia. The sinking on September 5, 1856, the Arabia set out on what would be its final journey. At Quindaro Bend, near Parkville, Missouri, the steamboat struck a submerged sycamore tree snag that tore open its hull. Water rapidly flooded in, but fortunately the upper decks remained above the surface. This allowed all the passengers and crew to escape to safety. The only casualty was a mule tied to equipment below deck. The Arabia sank so quickly that by the following morning only the smokestacks and pilot house were still visible. Within days, those traces also vanished beneath the surface. Multiple salvage attempts proved unsuccessful and the steamboat was lost, slowly becoming completely submerged and buried as the river shifted course over time. The actual site of the sinking now lies under a farm field a half-mile from the Missouri River's present location. Legends of the Lost Steamboat. In the 1860s, a man named Elisha Sortor bought the land where the Arabia lay hidden far beneath the surface. Over the years, his family passed down legends about a steamboat resting somewhere under their property. Tales of the lost vessel also circulated around the nearby towns. However, as time passed, the Arabia's exact location was forgotten. Then in 1987, Bob Hawley and his two sons, Greg and David, took on the challenge of finding the long-lost steamboat. Using old maps and modern technology like a proton magnetometer, they managed to pinpoint a probable location deep underground. It lay 45 feet down below a half-mile of silt and soil that now separated it from the river. The excavation begins. With permission from the property owners and a deadline to finish before spring planting, the Hawleys assembled a team to excavate the Arabia during the winter months when the water table was at its lowest. Joining them were family friends Jerry Mackey and David Luttrell. On November 13, 1988, they began the daunting task of digging up the steamboat. After carefully mapping out the location of the hull, they brought in heavy machinery, like a massive 100-ton crane. To keep the site from flooding, they installed 20 irrigation pumps around the perimeter, with wells reaching 65 feet deep to remove 20,000 gallons of water per minute from the ground. It was a complex and laborious undertaking. Finally, on November 26th, the first glimpse of the Arabia emerged from its 132-year-old grave, and just 4 days later, artifacts began surfacing, starting with a rubber overshoe. On December 5th, the excavators unearthed a wooden crate filled with fine china, still pristinely packed in straw that remained yellow after more than a century. It was a breathtaking discovery. Recovering a time capsule. As the excavation progressed, the team recovered an astonishing array of items from the Arabia's cargo. Thousands of artifacts were uncovered, largely intact, preserved by the thick mud that had encased the sunken steamboat. Crates held shoes and boots, buttons and beads, clothing and carpentry tools, jars of preserved fruits and pickles that were still edible. All the necessities and luxuries of life on the frontier poured forth from the Arabia's hold. Parts of the steamboat itself were salvaged too, including the boilers and engine and the anchor. By February 11th, 1989, the excavation had to halt as water filled the giant hole that held the Arabia. The site was then carefully refilled and returned to farmland. But the treasures of the steamboat were just beginning a new journey. Preserving the Arabia's treasures. The team had uncovered a massive collection, the largest assembly of pre-Civil War artifacts ever found. To properly preserve these priceless objects, they had to work quickly. Some items were stored in freezers or water tanks to protect them from deterioration. At the same time, the homes of the excavators began to resemble a 19th century general store as they stored the incredible cargo. Initially, the plan had been to sell the artifacts to cover the immense costs of the excavation work. However, upon seeing the significance of this discovery, the team decided the collection should remain intact and be shared with the public. The concept for a museum was born. Building the Arabia Steamboat Museum today, visitors to Kansas City, Missouri can explore the wonders recovered from the Arabia at the Arabia Steamboat Museum. Housing the largest collection of pre-Civil War artifacts in the world, the museum offers a rare glimpse into everyday life in the 1850s. Exhibits display fine china and clothing, carpentry tools and guns, buttons, and children's toys. The museum even houses the world's oldest pickles. Stepping into the museum is like stepping back in time. The ordinary objects that made up the Arabia's cargo paint a vivid picture of existence on the American frontier. Visitors can spend hours marveling at the contents of case after case, window after window. It's an intimate look at the necessities and occasional luxuries of a long-ago era, but the work of the museum is far from over. Cleaning the century of accumulated mud and rust from the 200 tons of artifacts remains an ongoing process that will continue for years to come. Preserving and displaying these treasures for generations to come is a labor of love. The enduring allure of the Arabia. When the Arabia vanished beneath the Missouri River in 1856, rumors swirled about the mysterious cargo she might have carried. Some claimed there was gold on board, others speculated about precious fine china. The truth turned out to be both more mundane and more marvelous. The everyday objects recovered from the Arabia offer an unparalleled look at a distant time. There were no riches in the traditional sense, but the historical value is immense. The story of the Arabia's loss and recovery weaves together threads of westward expansion, frontier commerce, the antebellum period, and more. It's a tale that showcases the perils of steamboat travel, the ingenuity of modern-day excavators, and the meticulous work of historic preservation. The unlikely resurrection of the Arabia's long-lost cargo continues to captivate visitors year after year. The treasures she carried, lost for 132 years, have been given a second life as cherished pieces of American history. Visiting the Arabia Steamboat Museum in Kansas City's historic River Market District is a chance to connect with that history in a tangible, deeply personal way. At the Arabia Steamboat Museum, where the past comes to life through everyday objects, the story of the steamboat Arabia lives on, inviting us to explore the triumphs and tragedies of a young nation pushing westward. It's a journey of discovery that began with a single submerged snag in the mighty Missouri and continues to enrich our understanding of America's past, one artifact at a time. Now it's time to hear from you. Have you ever visited the Arabia Steamboat Museum in Kansas City, or do you plan to go after learning about this incredible discovery? What artifact from the Arabia's cargo would you be most excited to see in person? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.